baby.
I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Welcome to the weekly roundup from Steven's studio, live in Philadelphia. I'm up from Florida in the area with some family stuff. So we've put a lot of things together over the past 24 hours, and this is what we've come up with. What a brilliant concept. I don't know how much, we can't really describe it any better than that. But yeah, fun stuff. Daniel, how are you?
I am doing good. I'm ready to get going into this very good episode that we have for you guys tonight.
I'm pumped. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Mr. Palmeiro is already in the back, roaring and ready to go. We're obviously going to talk some baseball. We're going to talk some basketball. Phillies are red hot. Perfect time to talk to Mr. Palmeiro as well. But before we get into that, obviously, each one of our episodes is brought to you by eXp Realty. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, looking to change your career brokerage, contact our guy at Alan Foy over at eXp Realty LLC, 302-682-6820. Visit him at Alan Foy at exprealty.com. And with that being said, let's switch gears immediately and let's get Mr. Rafael Pomero. Welcome to the show tonight. Appreciate your time this afternoon, this evening. How you feeling tonight?
I feel great. I have my drink here, and I'm glad I'm joining you guys tonight. Let's talk a little baseball.
Yeah, definitely want to talk some baseball. Obviously, the Phillies are on it right now. They get Joe out of there, bring this new guy in there. It's 9 in a row now.
Sometimes all it takes is just a small change, and in this case, it was the manager. And the team picks up momentum, they pick up new energy. And I was watching today, they've got 9 or 10 in a row now. They've turned their season around. So sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, just a few games out of the wild card already. They were looking dire there for a minute.
We were looking at it earlier. They swept the Brewers. So sweeping the Brewers took them from 5 back of the Brewers to 2 back. It's plenty of time to make a run. Did you talked about the change and sometimes it's all it needs is a different voice or an energy. Did you ever have a time in your career where that happened at any point where a switch was made and something just changed within the clubhouse that led to, better results on the field?
No, I don't remember anything in specific. I played on some really good teams and I played on some teams that were not so good. Usually the manager was fired or the change was always made in the off season. And if we did make a change, it was kind of late in the season when we were out of it already. I remember specifically one year with the Rangers. It was my first time around. We had a 14-game win streak going into the All-Star break. And I think we're only a game or 2 out of the first place. I think it was the Twins. And then we took our break for 4 days, and we came back and we lost 12 games in a row. So the break at that point kind of killed us, and it took us basically out of the pennant race. But, sometimes all it takes is just either a break, like the All-Star break for us, it worked against us. But usually when they make a managerial move, I've known Joe Girardi. I played against him when he was with the Yankees and I was with the Orioles. He's had some great success. I don't know what happened there in Philadelphia, but it seems like whatever they did is working. So, and it's still early in the season. It's only June, 10th or 11th. There's still a lot of baseball to be played, so they're back in it. I'm sure they're going to probably try to get into the All-Star break near the top and then go get a couple of players to maybe get them all the way over the top and see what happens. But it's a long season. It's a grind, man. It's a marathon.
Do you think it might have been maybe a sense of urgency, seeing that their manager had gotten fired, and then they're like, oh snap, we need to start playing, because if he's getting fired, that means that we're not even playing to the expectations of the city, and we don't want to make this go down any more than what it is. So maybe they just picked up their play, and they've noticed a little difference. I've noticed a lot from the young guys, lately Bryson Stott has been on fire. I think he has a home run in 3 straight games or something like that. And even the starting rotation has picked it up. Do you think maybe it's something like that where it's a sense of urgency?
Well, probably. I think that when a team gets in a funk, when a team is in a bad streak or they're just not playing good baseball, there's times when you really don't want to go to the ballpark because you pretty much know what the results are going to be. You're probably going to end up losing. You're probably going to have a bad game, and things just kind of start spiraling out of control. And when that move comes and it's the manager that has to go, it's like you have new life, new energy. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's start again. Let's see if we can get things going. Maybe, that team was just hit a stale spot in the season. And obviously it was the right time to make a change because obviously the team is different now and the team has turned it around. They're playing with energy. They're winning games. And so maybe, that's all it takes, urgency, thinking that, hey, our season is about to be over if we don't get this thing turned around. And they turned it around.
And just to imagine, you got a team like the Atlanta Braves. The Phillies are on a 9-game winning streak. The Braves, I believe, are on a 10-game winning streak. And then the Mets are slumping. So had they not gone on this winning streak to get this confidence going, the Braves would be the team that everybody would be talking about solely as trying to come back and take over that long lead that the Mets had. So you would have been basically almost out of it at that point with how they are playing. So you kind of want to stay toe-to-toe with them while also trying to catch up with the Mets as well.
Well, the thing about it is that the Mets, like you said, the Mets are struggling now. So it was good timing to make a move. Now that the Phillies have turned it around, the Mets have come back a little bit back to the pack. The Braves, the Braves are going to be good anyway. It's going to be these 3 teams are going to be battling it all the way through the end. But it's a good thing that the Mets are struggling a bit. The Phillies have picked it up. The Braves have picked it up, and so now they're all in it together. And they're going to make each other better now because it's a pennant race.
Your favorite team ever that you played with at any point in your baseball career? What's the favorite team ever?
Probably the 97 Orioles. 96 Orioles, we were pretty good. We ended up getting beat by the Yankees. I think that was the Yankees' first year of their run. If you guys can remember in the championship series, the kid that got in the way of the home run. It was actually an out, but they called it a home run because he got in the way. I think if that play goes our way, we probably end up winning the series and maybe go on to win a World Series. But playing with Cal Ripken during that period of time, he was getting ready to break the Lou Gehrig record, so that brought us a lot of attention throughout the season. I think it was in '95, but I can't remember the year that he did it. But it was just everywhere we went. The stadiums were filled up. But 96 was good. 97, we went wire to wire. We ended up playing against the Indians in the championship series. Didn't play well. The Indians went on to play the Marlins, and then the Marlins beat them in 7 games. But I think the 97 team was probably the best team I've ever played on.
You would have beat the Marlins that year, right? I mean, of course you would. Of course you would have beat the Marlins.
I think 96 and 97 was probably our year to go back-to-back. I think with the Yankees, what happened there, I think the Yankees, obviously they went on to win the World Series that year, but that was our World Series year. And then in 97, we just didn't play well. But I thought, if we'd have ended up in the World Series, we probably would have won it. But hey, that's, I never ended up playing in the World Series, and that sucked for me, but we got close a couple of times.
Have special memories like that. The Cal Ripken thing is something that, coming out of the strike, obviously had a huge impact on restoring, all the popularity around baseball and getting fans' attention back on it. You mentioned how everywhere you went, there was people in the seats. Was it just different? Because you could tell, going to a city with 10,000 people maybe at a game compared to showing up all of a sudden there's 35,000 people there just because they want to see Cal Ripken break the streak.
Well, and at the same time, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were doing their thing too. And I know that, coming out of the strike, the fans were not very happy with baseball, with the players and the owners. And, the timing of it all was just right because he was getting ready to break the record and we were getting sellout crowds everywhere we went. And then Sammy and Mark McGuire were doing their thing. And I remember playing, I think it was Mark McGuire. I came out to watch him hit early BP, and the stadium was already there. The whole stadium was full, and so it brought excitement back. People got excited about baseball again. But the thing with Cal Ripken was just an amazing thing. And then the night that he broke it, I remember President Clinton came into the clubhouse, and I got to talk to him a little bit. He was there for the evening, and it was just an unbelievable night, man. It's just, I know that it had nothing to do with me, but that's one of those moments that it's just one of those moments that you just cherish for life, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that with a guy like Cal Ripken, a lot of people talk about him for power and just being a menace on the base pass. But this guy was able to play for so long in a time where you had guys play every game of the season, 162 games. And now you have it where managers try and rest their star players at times to keep them going. What are your thoughts on all those moves now that you have to try and rest them now? When you guys played, they weren't doing that.
Don't get me started on that with today's baseball players. The thing about Ripken is that he was a robot, man. He came into the ballpark, and I knew that he was going to play. It didn't matter. There were times when he would walk in, and he would be limping in about 2:00 in the afternoon, 2:30. And I was like, there's no way you're going to play tonight. Maybe he had something wrong with his back. I remember he had a back problem late, when he was getting ready to do it. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to be able to play. And at 7:00, he was ready to go. And then no one knew, the fans, the media didn't know that he was hurting. But he was a Hall of Fame player regardless of the streak. He had 400 home runs and 3,000 hits. And he won an MVP. He won the Rookie of the Year. He won a championship. So he was a Hall of Fame player. The problem is that at the end, he became the streak. And people just kind of remember him for the streak. But Cal Ripken was a hell of a player. This dude was a superstar. But he just, he came to play the game. I remember him saying, his dad basically said, look, this is your job. You're supposed to be in the lineup. The guy that's behind you is not as good as you. So you need to come and show up and play the game because we rely on you to help us win the game. And that was his mindset. And for all of us, the younger guys that were coming up playing with him, we saw that in him. He came to play every night, regardless of how he felt, if he was hurt. And he came to play to win. And we appreciated that. But, the way the players are today, and I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but, they get rested. If they get hurt, something happens, that's just a small injury. They miss 7 days or 10 days. I mean, that's unheard of in my era. I mean, we came out and played the game regardless of how you felt, unless it was something that you couldn't be in the lineup because you could, a hamstring pull or a broken bone or something. You were, you came to the ballpark to play, to be in the lineup.
We've got one of our followers here, Prism, who's career Rangers fan, lifelong Rangers fan, talking about he's been to all three ballparks, watched you play. I don't know why he wants to go to the 99 Gold Glove, but he wants your reaction to the 99 Gold Glove.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to him about my 99 Gold Glove. That's one of those things, the thing about the Gold Glove, it's basically a popularity contest is what it is. It's not really given to the guy that really earned it or deserves it. I didn't deserve it that year. Obviously, I only played 25 or 30 games at first base. I won the DH of the year that year. I actually was I was the Major League Player of the Year by the Sporting News, but I had no business winning the Gold Glove. The year before that and the year before that, I did. But there are also several other years that I played very well. Okay. And they gave it to somebody else because that's just how it is. Somebody else maybe had more errors or didn't play as well, but more established, maybe, Don Mattingly. I mean, Don Mattingly, I thought was the best first baseman I ever played against. But I felt like there were several years that I thought maybe I deserved it and I didn't win it. So in 99, it was kind of like one of those makeup years that, it's one of these back here. I don't know which one it is. There's three of them back there. But it was 97, 98, and 99. But definitely, I didn't deserve 99. That's for sure.
Are you a fan of the DH becoming this universal thing now in baseball? Are you a fan of it in both leagues?
I kind of liked it where the pitchers had to hit because it kind of, that's the difference between the American League and the National League. But the pitchers, there's very few guys that can swing the bat. Guys, those pitchers really don't put much emphasis, or they don't really take much time to get in the cage or to do something about it, because there's times in the game that you need to do something, not just
bunt no more. There's no bunting, which kind of hurts it.
But that's kind of what made the difference in the National League and the American League, because it's a different strategy with the double switches and all that. Well, that's already gone. That's the things with the strategy and stuff like that. That doesn't exist anymore. So, I guess I'm fine with it. It adds another offensive player to the lineup, but it is what it is. I'm okay with it, I guess.
I'm with you. We segued to the DH thing because that was our poll question. Is we're asking about the universal DH and how many people agree or disagree with it. I was with you. Everybody likes watching a pitcher hit a home run, right? You love watching a pitcher crank one out of the yard. But at some point, I think the contracts have also gotten to a point where you've got a pitcher making 30, 40 million a year, and he's running around the bases, pulling a hamstring or something like that. And all of a sudden you're thinking, why was he even at the plate in this position anyway?
Yeah. I don't think that they did it for that reason, though. I don't think they did it. I think they did it because offense is down. The offense across the board is down in both leagues. And so maybe they thought, hey, let's add the DH in the National League. Let's take the pitcher out. He's pretty much an automatic out anyway. There's times where I see a pitcher and he's up there with his bat on his shoulder, taking 3 pitches down the middle of the plate. And that's not baseball. Make an effort, at least swing the bat, and maybe you get lucky. But offense is down across the board, and maybe with the addition of that extra hitter in the lineup, it adds a little bit of offense. But I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think the exception to the rule was Shohei Ohtani, because he does both pitching and hitting. But then they added that rule to allow him to stay in the game now after pitching as like a double switch.
Yeah,
and I think he's probably the only exception to that rule, with all the other pitchers not where he hit it, and they want to just have them focus solely on being on the mound, like Zach said, because they're making so much money being pitchers. They don't want them to get hurt. I think team wise, whereas the TV wise, like you said, they want to see a lot of runs. They want to get people tuned in, and that's why I feel like it's become like a home run type league now, where you see a lot of home runs being hit, not enough balls being in play, because they're trying to get everybody in tune to the game. And I feel like, it's just my opinion, I feel like it's kind of hurting the league a little bit, because they're not seeing all that small ball now.
Well, first on the Ohtani thing, I think he's an incredible talent. My son plays with the Angels in the minor leagues. Yeah. He actually played with Ohtani. He was able to go to some of the big league games in spring training, and he was just amazed at the athleticism, the size, the strength that Ohtani has. I think that at some point he needs to just pick one of the two. I don't think that what he's doing today is sustainable for his career, where he's pitching and he's hitting. I think if he focuses on pitching alone, he would be one of the better pitchers in the league. In my opinion, he should just hit. Forget about pitching and just hit. Play right field and just be a hitter. And this guy could be an incredible. He's a 50 home run kind of guy. But because he's pitching in some games, it's taken away. It's almost like the Bo Jackson thing when he played football and baseball. He was a great talent in both sports, but because he played both, it hurt himself. This guy should be in the Hall of Fame. He's a football player as a baseball player. And he's not going to be in either because he played both. Well, it's the same thing with Ohtani doing both. If he were to just focus on one, he would be an incredible talent, even though he is already. But he could win 20 games or he could hit 50 home runs. He needs to pick. But, the offense is down. And the reason I think is because the approach to hitting now has changed completely. Everyone wants to hit a home run, the whole at bat. It doesn't matter what the count is. It doesn't matter if you got a 2-strike count. It doesn't matter if the guy's just a punch and Judy. It doesn't matter the situation in the game. It's all or nothing. Okay? And then you got the pitcher on the mound on the other side, all or nothing. It's a strikeout or nothing. So those two things combined equals, for boring baseball. It's either a home run or nothing, or a strikeout. Well, people want to see action. People want to see, a lot of runs scored, but people want to see the stolen base. People want to see the bunt. People want to see the hit and run. People want to see the doubles and turning into triples. Yeah, everybody loves the home run, but it's not for everybody. And you're not going to get, 6 home runs a game. Yeah, every now and then you might get it. But I think that the combination of hitters just thinking about hitting home runs and not putting the ball in play and playing the game the way it needs to be played. And then on the other side, pitchers just from the time they get on the mound and try to strike everybody out. It just makes for bad baseball, in my opinion.
You got the super regionals going on right now at college baseball. And I think one of the things that's so exciting about college baseball at the moment is you still see all of that in the game, the hit and runs, the bunting,
right.
All the strategy. There's all this going on. And you're like, yes, this is fun. This is what baseball should be. Is it's hurting MLB, but it might be helping college baseball a little bit get more exposure.
That's right. And then, but it is trickling down. It is trickling down to college baseball, this approach that, the home run and the strikeouts. But yes, I love college baseball. I went to Mississippi State and I was able to be a part of our national championship team last year. And, I'm watching the regionals last week and the super regionals this week. And yeah, it's fun to watch these guys because they do bunt the ball and they do hit and run and steal bases and do little things like that. Yeah, they do hit home runs because there's a lot of home runs being hit in college baseball. Home runs are up all the way through college baseball. But it is fun. You see these guys running around and, getting dirty and running into walls and things like that you don't see at the big league level. But, the game is changing. The athletes, the pitchers are throwing harder, which doesn't really matter. Good hitter's going to hit a good fastball anyway. And the hitters are stronger, more developed. But I don't think that as far as the skill level is not the same. I think the skill level has declined a little bit because just like the conversation that we're having, it's just all or nothing. The all or nothing type baseball will diminish the skills.
You're saying that. Who would you like to in this who's playing now? Like the Bryce Harpers, the Machados, guys like that. Who would you like to see played? Who would played in your era?
Well, Ohtani, Ohtani, Mike Trout, Harper. The kid, not the kid, but the right fielder for the Yankees, the big guy,
Judge,
hitting all the home runs. Yeah, I mean, there's some great players in the game. Don't get me wrong. There's some superstars. Overall,
you've got Vlad Jr., obviously one of those rising superstars you talked about, and you played against his dad.
I played against his dad. His dad's a Hall of Fame player. His dad was an incredible talent, incredible outfielder. It didn't matter what you threw him; he was going to hit it hard. His son is incredible. He's a great player as well. So there are some really young players that I would have loved to play against, but I think I played in the best era that has ever played. I mean, there's so many.
It's one of my favorite eras.
Yeah,
I'm kind of biased. Just a simple fact that it was when I was younger. Is when I was in love with the game of baseball. So it's one of the things love it, hate it, or whatever. The pre-strike guys and everything that came with it, regardless of the post-traumatic thing of happened both to the players and both to the fans. We love that time. I don't care what anyone says. You can you can say whatever you can say about how I feel about it. I love that regardless of whatever stain you want to have on it. And I want to turn back to this on the other side because Major League Baseball has made another stain on itself over the past few years with the Hall of Fame ballot voting. And I want to get your take on this because I think we need to have a major overhaul. You have an absolute spit in the face of not only the players, the fans, and everyone who's involved in the game when you don't have anyone going. It's ugly. You shouldn't have any sport ever. I don't care if we're talking baseball, hockey. No sport should go a year into their Hall of Fame going and no one gets in. That shouldn't happen. under any circumstances. There's too many guys that played, both current times who were available, and whatever you call it, seniors or whatever you want to call it, for whatever. There's people that deserve to be there that shouldn't be there. The fact that Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, and we don't have guys like yourself, like Pete Rose, like there's Curt Schilling. There's so many guys over nonsense. You have Curt Schilling has stuff in the Hall of Fame for his playing days, but is basically barred from it. It's one of these. I think it's become too much of a political thing. I think you need to not only change how it's done, who's voting for it, and who has a hand in it.
Man, I agree with everything you said. There's so many guys that I played with and I played against in that era that are not in the Hall of Fame, and I agree with you. For these guys not to vote somebody in, and
anybody, pick somebody, flip a coin.
Yeah, no, but again, it's like you said, it's political, and they want to make a statement because they have the power. They have that power.
They had a hand in a lot of this, and I don't want to beat too much into it. They have a hand in this.
I know that, but here's what I was going to say is that the writers have that power. Okay, the power of the pen. Okay, and they wanted to make a point. Okay, they wanted to make a point. They wanted to send a message, and they wanted to penalize some of the players that played in that era, and they basically say, "Hey, screw you guys," because we're the ones that are in charge of voting you guys in, but we don't agree with we don't agree with your careers. We think that you guys were a bunch of cheaters, and this is how we're going to pay you guys back. And so, like you said, Curt Schilling, I mean, come on. I mean, that dude was the greatest pitcher in the postseason of all time. And he had a great career as well. And there's other guys, Manny Ramirez. Barry Bonds, for God's sake, Barry Bonds, the greatest player of all time is Barry Bonds. Okay?
Greatest hitter of all time. You're saying Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time.
Not just the greatest hitter. He was the greatest player of all time.
Greatest player, not even the hitter, the greatest player.
People don't realize, People don't realize how dominating Barry Bonds was when he was late in his career, when he was hitting 73 home runs and he was freaking getting on base. His on-base percentage was like 500. People don't realize you see what guys are doing now, okay? They don't realize how dominating he was for about a 5 or 6 or 7 year period. This guy was the greatest player of all time.
And even how good he was in Pittsburgh. People tend to forget how good he was in Pittsburgh.
He was a Hall of Famer at that point in his career. And then he goes to San Francisco and he elevates his game. Okay? And for him not to be in the Hall of Fame, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, then the Hall of Fame should not exist. And if Roger Clemens is not in the Hall of Fame and Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame, because for me, those three guys, they need to have a Hall of Fame plus for those three guys. Like there's the Hall of Fame
of their own.
And then the elite Hall of Fame for those three guys.
There's another level to it.
That is the damn alone.
There's a platinum level.
For me, I'm talking about the elite Hall of Famers like the Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, Pete Rose. They need to have the elite wing, or even not even a wing, just a separate building somewhere else for them.
Yeah, I just remember when Schoen was in Arizona. That year that they won, it was him and Randy Johnson. They were the only guys basically winning for the pitchers on that team, and they were going 8-9 innings. I felt like every game. Then he goes to Boston, and you got the whole bloody sock game where he just kept on pitching, and you're just like, geez, how's this guy pitching? When you're looking at his sock and you see the blood just spewing through the sock and he just keeps on going. He didn't just pitch a good game. He pitched a great game. Yeah. And that was during a series where they were down 3-0 and they wind up winning 4 straight games to go to the World Series. That was basically the World Series right there in that series, because that was like a series of like 1-3 and then 4-7. It was just crazy to see this guy who has multiple World Series. He was a great pitcher, and not just one, not two, but 3 teams that he's been on, and he doesn't even make the Hall of Fame at all.
I was reading something that somebody posted about just now on the screen here, that you need to have a good relationship with the writers.
I'll back it up for you. I got it. Hold on, right here.
I don't remember that being a criteria
This one right here, right?
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think you have to have a good relationship with the
but
that's not
at the same time we're
Hall of Fame, because Ted Williams used to spit at the fans, and Ted Williams used to tell the writers to go F themselves. Okay, and Ted Williams is in the Hall of Fame. If Ted Williams would have played in our era, he probably wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, because these writers wouldn't be able to handle him. Okay, but yeah, I had a great relationship with the media on the road and at home with our guys that traveled with us. But, you know, I saw Barry Bonds butt heads with the media all the time. You know, that's a personal thing for them. The writers shouldn't take that personally. That has nothing to do with performing on the field and, you know, winning games and winning championships and winning MVPs. The writers shouldn't take that personally if you don't want to answer questions. You know, if you never talk to the media, that shouldn't keep you out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, I always talk to the media, regardless of how good or how bad I was. I never shied away. Even when I went through my issues at the end of my career, I faced it. I faced the media. But that shouldn't be, you know, the media shouldn't take that personally and say, okay, well, especially with Curt Schilling and his political views, you know, a lot of the media in the Northeast, you know, held him out of it because of his political views, and that shouldn't be part of it.
We talk about Schilling in the big games because, you know, those, you know, like you're pitching in the World Series with the bloody sock. It's obviously easy to talk about, but he's one of two pitchers with 3,000 career strikeouts that aren't in the Hall of Fame. The rest of them are in the Hall of Fame. There's only two guys that aren't, and it's Curt Schilling and Roger Clemens. So what's that tell you about that statistic, you know, and how just political and biased this whole process has become? That, you know, two of the guys that are in one of the most elite clubs in baseball history, you know, the only members of that club that aren't in the Hall of Fame are those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's right. And it's, I mean, why? What's the purpose? What's the reason? You know, I can understand with Curt Schilling, you know, the writers basically say, screw you because your political views and you're an outspoken guy that we don't agree with, so we're going to keep you out. With Roger Clemens, I understand he got accused of something, but he never tested positive for anything. So I don't know why. I mean, the guy has seven Cy Youngs. He's got 300 plus wins. He's got, I don't know how many strikeouts, 4,500 or something.
Greatest pitcher of all time?
Pretty much.
One of them.
I mean, I played in the era.
He's you know, 2, 3, if not one on some people's list.
I played in the era where I played with the greatest baseball player and the greatest pitcher of all time. And both of those guys are not in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I still think one of my favorite teams for you playing was the you know, having you down there in Texas with Gonzalez and that was some fun.
Rodriguez.
Those are some fun teams to watch. You have a couple guys in here, you know, both think you having your repertoire, you know, the 500 home run club and everything like that. You know, why do you think they're holding you back? Is it because of your things that you got wrapped up into, or
obviously my positive test at the end of my career, you know, that leading up to that, I had 500 and I got to 500 home runs in 2003. And then I got to 3,000 hits in 2005, which was probably going to be my last year. But yeah, I mean, if either one of those two things, if you get to 500 home runs,
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, all right, so if you're one of these guys put into to do some like overhauling type thing, what is one of the things that you would do? Just take the power away from the writers?
You know, I mean, I hate to do that, but I think that it's probably better to have a veterans committee. I know that there is a veterans committee.
I agree. There should be a veterans committee on both sides, both you know, Major League Baseball and, you know, players.
Yeah, you can have
common ground
of guys that played the game. You know, managers and players, guys that are in the trenches, guys that played against you, guys that played before you. You know, guys that really appreciate what it's like to, you know, strap it on every day and go out there and play 162 games night after night after night, and to be, you know, and to perform and to put up numbers for 20 years. They can appreciate that. So yeah, maybe the veterans committee of some sort where it's players, you know, and then take away all the other nonsense.
I think something you have to do to just, you know,
and just vote on the merits, you know, the things that you did on the field, the things that you how you contributed to the game on the field, because I think that's kind of how.
But also a lot of guys contributed things off the field too that not just like negatively but positively, and that's some of the things that ultimately help get them into. It's like it's not an even thing, and that's why I think there has to be something that has to be done to change.
I mean, but that and I did a lot of charity work. I did a lot of stuff in my community, whether here in Texas or when I played in Baltimore. I did a lot of stuff for my whole career. And that, I mean, I don't think it went to waste, because all that I did went to help mostly kids, and so I don't regret any of that, but that didn't get me into the Hall of Fame. And if I would have done all that stuff and didn't put up numbers, it wouldn't have put me in the Hall of Fame. But I did all of that and I put up the numbers. And because, what happened to me at the very end of my career, that one little mistake that I made, I paid the price. I mean, I was only on the ballot for like 4 years. I got like 5, 6, or 7% my second or third year. And
yeah, that's what Prism was saying. I think 1 year you probably should have gotten in, and you fell short.
Well, before me, every 500 home run person or 3,000 hit person, every player that's got 500 or 3,000 hits is in the Hall of Fame. And every player that was, and I was the fourth player with 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. The other three were Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, and Eddie Murray. Well, those three guys are in the Hall of Fame. I was the only one left out, and now we got A-Rod, who, in my opinion, was probably the second best player, behind Barry Bonds that I played with.
He's up there too, yeah.
He's got 700.
How you feel about him personally or whatever? Yeah, he's.
I mean, personally, I've known A-Rod since he was 19 years old when he came up with the Mariners, and I played against him. Then he played with me in Texas for 3 years. I think he's one of the greatest players of all time. Say whatever you want to say about him off the field, personally, whatever. I don't care anything about that.
Listen, it doesn't really play too much into him when we're talking about like where these guys actually rank, where all time or during that era. However you want to look at it, I think it should hold no bearing into it. And even the other side of it, like guys like McGuire and Canseco had special places and times, and it's Sosa, etc. That means something to the sport. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, I know
you got something. Go ahead.
Hang on. The thing about McGuire and Sosa that gets lost in all of this is how they brought the game back. And regardless of what anybody says about them doing whatever it is that they did, the commissioner, Bud Selig, and the league, and everybody knew pretty much what was happening in the game at the time. Okay, there were a lot of players taking.
They all had a hand in it, and I guarantee you that this much, if they had a chance to do it again, they would do it.
But here's the thing. Bud Selig oversaw the league back then, and I don't want to dog anybody here, but Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. But Sammy Sosa, and Roger Clemens and Mark McGuire are not, and they had more of an impact in our game to bring the game back than Bud Selig ever did. Okay, and so those two guys, they had great careers, but what they did for the game back in that year, or those 2 years or 3 years that they were hitting 60 home runs, it changed our game. It brought our game back, and stadiums were being filled, and it brought a new generation of young kids to follow us. Okay, and I thought not just that it brought the game back, but it built on the game.
And now they're having.
Hold on, Daniel. Hold on. I want to see, like, because I'm one of these people that's convinced at some point, I don't know if it's 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, at some point though, all these guys that we're talking about are getting in. The process will change at some point. Everybody's going to get in that deserves to get in. Do you hold out hope that at some point that'll happen for you, or
I do.
Stuff you don't care about?
I do. No, I do care about it. I mean, it's the Hall of Fame, man. I mean, I wanted to be in the
Hall of Fame. It's something he's earned.
It's the Hall of Fame is the ultimate prize for a baseball player. Okay, that's the ultimate achievement besides winning a championship, because that's a team thing, right? But for a player itself, I mean, that's the ultimate. It's not really a goal for anybody when you first start, but as you get along in your career and you start putting up numbers, it becomes a goal, and it's the end game. It's for the guys that are in the Hall of Fame. That's the echelon. That's the peak. That's You've climbed the mountain of baseball, and you're there with the rest of the greatest players of all time. So yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have been in the first time. I was eligible to be in the Hall of Fame, and I would love to be in. Okay, now I know that this year, it's in the Veterans Committee's hands for several of us, myself included. And I think Schilling and Bonds and Clemens and McGuire. I think all of us will have. I think they can only vote 10 in of our era, but I think they're only gonna. It's based on what you did on the field. They're gonna take everything else, all the noise away from the field and whatever, and they're gonna just focus on your contributions to the game on the field and your numbers. And so I'm hopeful. Maybe I'm one of the 10 guys. I have no idea, because the list of players that are
if
eligible,
there's 10 that they could get in, I think 10 should get in.
Yeah.
Period.
The list of players that are eligible,
But that's just me.
there's at least 10 Hall of Fame guys. And I'm not even including myself. I'm just saying there's at least 10 guys that should be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I hope that at some point, not just for myself, but for Bonds and Clemens and the guys that are the best of all time, they need a place in the Hall of Fame, man.
All right, go ahead, Daniel.
And it's crazy to think that all the stuff we've been talking about, how kind of tenfold that it is, that the game was so popular in the 80s and 90s. Everyone liked to go to the games. You got the players, you had small ball, you hit for power, you had pitchers and everything. And all of a sudden, after all this happened, you see management want to fix the game. I don't know for what reason, but they want to make all these corrections to it, get rid of a lot of the things to make it more of a like strikeout and home run thing to get the fans back in when the fans were already there. And now it seems like the fan experience has gone down because of it, because they made so many mistakes trying to correct what they thought was problems with the league, that there was no problems to begin with. And it's hurt the attendance, it's hurt the viewership on TV, and even hurt, I think, for the players, where, like we said before, where you got players resting, not playing, thinking about tomorrow rather than today. And it's just crazy to think about everything that's happened over the last 10 to 15 years.
How about instant replay?
Yeah.
You a fan of instant replay, Rafi?
No, hell no, forget that. That's here's my thing. Here's my opinion on all of that. I think that there's a lot of guys that are in baseball now, that are running baseball, that are not that they don't have a baseball background. They never played the game. They never ran an organization. They don't know the traditions of baseball, and they've got good intentions though. Okay, they're not doing it on purpose. They're trying to make the game better, but they're taking things from the other sports. They're taking things from basketball and things from football that don't belong in baseball. Okay, the instant replay. They try to speed up the game. They want to speed up the game by forcing the pitcher to throw. To get on the mound and pitch fast, and they're making the hitter be in the batter spots. You can't even step out to get your sign, and that's part of the reason that you don't see any plays, because there's no time to give a hit and run or a steal or anything like that, because they want to speed up the game. But when there's a close play at first or at home or wherever, let's do the instant replay, and then it takes 5 minutes because the umpire messed the play up. Okay. So that's one thing. The only instant replay that should occur in a game is the home run that's fair or foul, okay? Because the umpires, for some reason, miss that a lot, okay? And the ball that's hits on top of the wall, okay? Because especially in Baltimore, in right center field, there's a concrete wall behind the fence, the wall, and sometimes the ball hits on top of the wall. On top of the concrete, hits the back wall, and it comes back in, and it's hard to see it, and the umpire could call it a double. So the only time there should be an instant replay is when there's a ball that's hit over the fence that may hit the top of the wall and go over and then come back, or the foul, the fair foul. Everything else is a judgment call by the umpire. Fair foul, out or safe at first or second, balls and strikes. That's part of the game. When you install the instant replay, it takes all accountability away from the umpire. The umpire knows that, I have a safety net. If I screw up the play, somebody's going to challenge it and we're going to get it right. Well, you know what? Screw that. Get it right. That's what you're paid for, is to get it right. We get paid to get it right when we play. If we don't get it right, we get released, we get sent down to AAA. So let's make the game better by removing stuff like that to be accountable for what we're doing on the field. The thing with the extra inning stuff, put the hitter on second base.
Oh, that's stupid.
That's little league. That's like the stuff that my son did when he was 12.
You're talking to a travel ball umpire here. That's why Steven was laughing a minute ago. I umpire travel ball, and yeah, that's a travel ball thing. That's exactly what that is.
Kids are 12 years old because they want to, get the game over with. But why do you have to do that in the big leagues? You have enough arms. I never heard of that. So what if we play 18 innings? I played in several extra inning games were 18 innings, and you know what? We got through it, and then the very next day, our starter went out and threw 7 innings, and we were able to recover, and we were fine. And so this thing with extra innings and saving arms, and I know that they're doing it because they mean well and they're trying to protect their guys, but it's hurting baseball. I was watching a minor league game that my son played in a couple of weeks ago. I went to Huntsville, Alabama, because he's with the Angels.
Yeah.
They played a doubleheader. They were tied. They were tied with the team that they were playing. Okay. They won the first game. So they took a one game lead in the standings. They were up 6-3 in the second game, and it was the bottom of the 6th inning. Okay. Bottom of the 6th inning, they're up 6-3. And they brought in the second baseman to pitch in the bottom of the 6th inning. And I'm thinking, wait a second. You guys are 1 game out. We had a rain out Monday and Tuesday. So they had 2 days. They have Sundays off or Mondays off. Okay. So they didn't play Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, they had rainouts. They played Thursday and they had a doubleheader on Friday. And so the second game of that doubleheader, my son's team had a 6-3 lead. And the second baseman came in to pitch the bottom of the 6th inning, because they play 7 innings in the minor leagues for doubleheaders. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on in baseball? I mean, are you kidding me? And they're doing that in the big leagues now. It's like a joke. I've seen Molina. I see Molina freaking lob pitches up there in games that they're down by 6, and I'm thinking, what the hell is happening in baseball? I've seen teams come back from a 6-7 run deficit in the bottom of the 9th.
You've seen the Phillies
sometimes all it takes is one game. At the end of the season, mark my words. At the end of the season, there's going to be 2 or 3 teams that are going to be 1 or 2 games out of the wild card, that last wild card. Okay, and they're going to wish that they didn't pitch those guys at the end of a game, because all it takes is 1 or 2 games that flip. Okay, and you just threw them away. You just decided, hey, you know what? It's not worth throwing my guys out of the bullpen. Let me just give this game away. For what purpose?
You played with Pudge Rodriguez in Texas. Who's better, Pudge or Molina? Because Pudge, I think, kind of had the title as the best catcher in baseball history for a while now, and it kind of seems like Molina's literally the only one with a chance to challenge that. Where are you at with that?
I think Pudge was better overall. Okay, I played with Pudge for a lot of years, and his footwork and his arm strength and accuracy behind the plate was better than anybody. I know people say, "Oh, Johnny Bench was the greatest." Well, maybe he was, but I didn't play with Johnny Bench or played against him, so I didn't get to see that. I only got to see Pudge and the players and the catchers for the rest of the league, and he was by far the best. Molina's pretty good. Molina's not as good as a hitter as Pudge was. The only thing that I can think of, maybe Molina may be able to call a game a little bit better. He kind of thinks as a pitcher. Not taking anything away from Pudge, because Pudge won championships. Pudge got a ring or 2, I think.
Miami.
Yeah, so he played in a lot of playoff games. So he learned as he got older to call games. He learned how to think with pitchers. But as far as behind the plate, nobody in today's game, not Molina in his best days, nobody was as good as Pudge behind the plate.
All right. Well, I want to quick switch gears here. I know we kind of went a little long with it with the baseball, but obviously, big love to our friend George Scott and the guys over at Mortar for help setting this up tonight. And basically, just give me kind of a quick rundown. Like, how'd you kind of get hooked up with Mortar, and just I guess give the fans a quick rundown on what type of company it is.
Okay, well, let me get back a little bit before I met these guys. My son said, "Hey, man, you need to look into this NFT stuff. Okay, it's big money and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And so I was, on Twitter. Everything pops up on Twitter, and something popped up about NFTs, and it was Clark Mitchell, and Immorta and George Scott, all those guys. Okay, I didn't know any of them. Now I have known Clark Mitchell for a while. I've met him prior because we both live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I didn't know that. Okay, but I reached out to him because I was taking my son's advice. Hey, you need to get involved with this NFT stuff. And I said, okay. So I reached out to Clark, and he said, hey, why don't you reach out to George and kind of work it through that angle. And so that's how we got started. And then he got us involved with Immorta and,
And now you guys got cards and whatnot. And
so there's the artwork.
How did the whole card thing come about too?
Well, I don't know too much about that stuff. They're the ones that are handling all of it. They're promoting it. They're promoting the hell out of it.
Well, I know we're gonna get Clark on here at some point in time. And
all I can tell you is that Clark's artwork is amazing. The kind of stuff that he's putting out is incredible. Okay, so like I said, I met him prior to this when I was playing, but we kind of came back around through this NFT stuff. But he does great work, and I love the stuff that he's done for me. And hopefully we'll be able to make some money on it.
I mean, I hope, yeah. I mean, the anyone who's seen the artwork that he has for you and some of the other guys, they got
working with Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. looks really nice too. Yeah,
he's got some stuff with Lenny Harris and Howard Johnson and Oil Can Boyd. I don't know if you guys remember Oil Can, but he was with the Red Sox back in the '80s. So yeah, he's got some good players.
For us Phillies fans, the dude's got one.
Yeah,
Lenny Dykstra has got one.
Cool.
We had Lenny on like a little bit like a year and a half ago. He's a character. Gotta love Lenny.
Yeah. Cool.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you was you brought up your son. As a father who used to play in the league, how does it feel to have him getting drafted? Now he's going up into the system. How does it feel being on the other side of things now, where instead of being playing, you're a spectator and then following your son as he makes his move up the ranks?
I mean, it's, of course, I've watched him from the time he was a little bitty kid going to the ballpark with me. And so he grew up in the ballpark, watching Ripken and watching Juan and all those guys. But now I'm his, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his. I still talk to him every night or before the games and give him some advice. I go up and I work with him when he struggles a little bit. It's a little nerve-wracking at times because I'm not the one that's playing. I'm not the one that is up there taking my swings. And when he struggles, it's hard because I know he can do better. But I love it, man. I love to watch him play. I love to watch him compete. And he's got a shot. He's got a shot at making it to the big leagues.
Was it more nervous you playing, trying to hit some of those milestones, or watching your son trying to go through it?
I was never nervous. I mean, yeah, maybe before a game or whatever, but I never got nervous playing. Once the game started, regardless of how big the game was, I was in my environment. That's what I did. That's what I was comfortable with. It didn't matter if we were at Yankee Stadium or Seattle, or that was my thing. I loved it. I loved all the excitement, the crowd, the pressure. Yeah, so it's nervous now. I get nervous when I watch him, especially when it's a tough lefty that he's facing and it's, games on the line. I would rather me be up there hitting than him. But
well, they were talking about one of your favorites. What was one of the ballparks you just hated to go to? Everyone hates Veteran Stadium. I hear.
No, actually, Veteran Stadium was not bad. I mean, I didn't play there a lot because I got traded from Chicago to Texas, so I only got to play there a few times.
Interleague didn't really happen.
We didn't have interleague play. Okay, when I first started, we didn't have interleague play came in later, and then
That's
I went
what I'm
back to
saying.
play
You
at
didn't play too much.
I went back to play at the new ballpark, which was awesome. I mean, it's one of the best ballparks.
Yeah, CVPs with some of the people who didn't come before that don't understand the difference.
Well, no, I mean, Veteran Stadium, freaking, it was hard as a rock. The turf was like playing on concrete, which was it was concrete with a rug over it. But the new ballpark was great. Yeah. I mean, at Veteran Stadium, I mean, it was a football stadium, man. It sucked for baseball, but
it sucked for football too.
It sucked for football too. But the worst for me was Fenway Park. Okay, Fenway Park. For some reason, I could not freaking hit well at that ballpark, even though they had the short porch and left where I could just kind of lob it that way. But the Red Sox would pound me inside. They would try to bust me inside all the time, and I couldn't force it that way. So I couldn't hit very well. But at the same time, I would go to New York and go to Yankee Stadium, and I would love it. I mean, that was my favorite ballpark to go to.
Can we play every game here, please?
Yeah, I love old Yankee Stadium, not the new one.
I think even some of the newer players are still, a lot of they love the older Yankee Stadium.
Oh man, but come on! I mean, think about all the great
nostalgia. I think it always has been, always will be something like
all
that.
The great teams and all the great players and the championships and just the history of the Yankees and just being. I remember when the first time I ever went to Yankee Stadium and I stepped in the box, the first thing that came to my mind was Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. They stood in the same batter's box, and I'm thinking, unbelievable. I mean, this is like it's a dream.
Now, before I let you go, Mr. Palmeiro, what I typically do is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over to you. Anyone you would like to thank, shoot out your social media sites, any charities you're working with, anyone you want to show some love to.
I'm not working with any charities at this point. I mean, I do charity events. But I do a lot of golf charity stuff, but I don't work with any charities at this point. I'm not really on social media that well. I don't even know what my freaking handle is or whatever you call it. Rafael Palmeiro on Instagram and Rafael Pomero on Twitter maybe.
It's Instagram. It's Rafi.
That's right, Rafi. But I'm usually not on there. I mean, I don't really post things other than maybe if somebody is posting something, I retweet it, and it's usually about baseball. But I mean, I want to thank you guys for having me on and talking about baseball and reliving some of my career. I mean, it was fun kind of talking about all that in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, it's really important to me. But I want to thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, it's definitely our pleasure.
Thank you.
Definitely love picking your brain a little bit. Hopefully next time maybe we can get you on like when one of the games are on and we do a little live react and have some
Let's
fun.
Do that. That would be great. That would be great. I'd love to watch a game and talk crap to you guys during the game.
That sounds fun, man. Next time we'll do something special. Maybe we'll do a giveaway for the fans or something. Get a little bit more people in the chat. We had a lot of people talking tonight. I think it was a fun interview, fun episode. Definitely looking forward to having you back on here again in the future, guys. Make sure you're checking Mr. Palmeiro out on his social media. Make sure you guys are checking out the NTF stuff over at Immorta. Check out Mr. Palmeiro's painting from Clark Mitchell, the other players that we mentioned, Howard Johnson, David Justice, Ken Griffey Jr. They got a lot of stuff going on over there. Really appreciate the time. Definitely looking forward to doing it again in the future, my friend. You enjoy it.
I am too, guys. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to get back on with you guys again, man.
We'll do it again in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You got it. You guys take
care,
care,
everyone. That was Mr. Rafael Palmeiro. That was definitely one of our more fun interviews. Yeah, that went way over what we said we were going to do. Unfortunately, we didn't have Clark on, so we weren't able to really get into into the stuff with Immorta and the NTF stuff. I promise you guys, anyone who wants to check out that stuff, we will get more in depth in that as we get in with some more of these interviews in the coming weeks and stuff like that. Like I said, hopefully we'll get Mr. Palmeiro back on again when we get
World Series. Got to get some World Series
yeah,
live,
something like
live
that.
event.
Yeah, we'll do something like that because obviously a lot of the live stuff goes on with on Saturday night, so we'll get the advantage on that one. So we'll get them back on. We'll do some live reaction. We'll see if we can get some of the guys, send them some stuff. We'll do some giveaways for our listeners. Do some stuff to promote some of the NTF stuff as well. Should be fun. But hey, man, baseball is in full effect in Philadelphia right now. It's the talk of the town.
The fever is back in Philly.
Yeah,
baseball fever's here. It needs more cowbell, Daniel.
Oh, no,
It
wait,
needs more cowbell.
Did you hear this? That the owner, Mr. Middleton, was actually bumping arms with the fans.
So maybe that's the cowbell that we were talking about. I can't do a good Christopher Walken. I feel like Steven looks like the guy that could do a Christopher Walken.
By this time last week when me and Steven were talking, they were just like, okay, they're on a couple game winning streak. They're doing okay. Maybe it was speaking of luck.
The little spark after they fired Girardi. Oh, this is fun. We swept the series. Now all of a sudden you're 2 games back in the wild card. I mean, you're right there, and you just beat the Brewers and swept them out of town, and really, made a statement with that series. So,
but the funny thing was when we talked about it, then we were like, potential 2 weeks ago, we are like potential guy if Girardi was fired, and one of the names which we just kind of made fun of was Madden. And we swept the Angels, and as soon as we swept them, he gets fired.
We were talking about guys that lost their time. I thought the same thing. I actually thought right back to that conversation. Unfortunately, I had the migraine going, and I couldn't stick around the rest of the night. But I thought right back to it. We were talking about Girardi, Madden, all these old school names that you talk about that people. Oh, he's an old school baseball guy. And you're like, they all run their course, and eventually, it's like, and Matt is not necessarily an old school baseball guy, right?
But you got to admit that.
Well, I'm not talking about like old. We're talking about guys that have been around a while. Is what we're talking about. Because not all of them are old school baseball guys. Madden's a very analytical approach, but it's like they run their course, they have their success, and then that's it. Like it's very few guys are Tommy Lasorda over here winning World Series, competing at a high level for 20+ years. It's just not really the way it goes. So Girardi had a good run, Madden had a good run. All those guys have a good run, and then it is what it is. And we keep wanting to try to mention these guys as sexy names of some kind, as if they're going to come back and,
and it's funny when we were talking about off air before we came on about the extension. I think I seen as we were talking to Palmeiro that you had one of these guys sitting there saying that they offer him a big contract.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're way early.
I like that. I mean, I thought it might send a message to the team that hey, like look how committed to winning we are. This guy steps in. We're 9-0. We kind of got this energy and this fire. Obviously, he's connecting with you guys. We'll give him a contract extension. But then, we made a Ray Rhodes comparison, and he's like, okay, all of a sudden you could Ray Rhodes it for the the rest of the way. We give him a contract too early, and
he blows it up on himself.
You have the first good year, and then the next 3 years of that contract, you're just absolute garbage. You're like, why'd we fall in love with this guy? We do that in Philly way too often, right? You fall in love with a guy, Rich Cote, Ray Rhodes, then you hate him. Then you fucking hate him. Fuck this guy.
But isn't it kind of funny though that
obviously we're happy what's going on with our offense. Hopefully, one of the things that me and you talked about, they get smart and go get an arm soon.
I mean, what's interesting is Andrew Painter is tearing it up. In our minor league system.
Just got called up too.
Just got called up. I mean, it's not just like false hype. It's not just like one of those things where, we haven't had a legit arm come through the system in so much. Yeah, let's fall in love with this guy. It's not just smoke and mirrors. He's got some legit substance to him. Big kid, like 6'6", great stuff. And you're like, okay, I'm with you to get me some arms, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, like we keep talking about at some point, you've also got to be able to bring guys through your system. You can't just go throw $200 million at every player that comes on the market, especially now because you have how many of them on your roster. And JT's kind of got a point where you're like, what are you going to do with this? You got to hope that he finds his way out of the funk because you're paying him way too much money for him to continue to funk it up like this. Hoskins is at a point where, are you going to pay him a ton of money, or are you going to? Yeah, I think you almost have to. He's kind of a part of this core that you've got built offensively, right? So where do you go? Who do you trade? Bryson Stott's not going anywhere. Let's be honest, right?
I still think Rhys is the guy. I still think.
No, you're gonna hate me for this, but
are you pulling the trigger on that, Daniel? Like if you got to trade Rhys Hoskins to bring in like a legit number one, like a Cliff Leroy Holiday type trade, is that the way you're going?
I'm trading Real Muto. That's who I'm trading.
That wouldn't happen. I mean, I think realistically,
but where I'm getting with that,
right? Like Didi or Gene are probably the two names that we'll talk about the most at this deadline.
But what I was going to get to is where I'm getting to is, if you look at Double-A, have you seen that catcher that we have at Redden, who has 13 or 14 home runs? He's just killing it.
What's his name? Rafael Marchand or whatever.
No, not
Marchand kid.
No, it's the other kid. What's his name? He has a weird name, but he had like a whole stretch where he had like a home run in, I feel like in 9 games, he had a home run in 8 of them. He's on fire. Like, they've been talking about this kid for the all season, and even last season it was good.
I think the name I'd pull the trigger on in our system is Mick Abel. I'm keeping Painter. I know Mick Abel was a top pick, and there's all this love with Mick Abel. But when you're like looking at like their makeups, their builds, and then you look at their stuff, Andrew Painter looks like a legit top of the rotation type stud that you could bring through your system. Mick Abel's just a guy where I'm like, all right, well, I hope he turns into something. Got potential, okay. Yeah, maybe he becomes a guy that pitches at the top of my rotation, becomes a 2. Maybe he's just a guy that's a 4. He's a Brett Myers, whatever. But I'm not over here like, yeah, this guy. Painter gets my attention. Yeah. Andrew Painter gets my attention. So I think I'll part ways with Mick Abel and like a couple other lower level minor league guys, if that brings me into like a legit back arm of the bullpen guy, like a legit closer, because Knievel's not the answer, right, Daniel?
Yeah. I mean, that was my next one. We need a closer,
right?
And the catcher,
Sir Anthony, it's never going to be Sir Anthony. No matter how much of his fans want it, no matter how much guys that like him want it, it's not going to happen.
With closers is though, like you don't have to go trade the top guy in your system to go get a legit closer, right? Like you wouldn't have to go like worry about training Andrew Painter, Bryson Stott. You might not even you might get away with not even have to include Abel in the deal if you package things correctly. But yeah, who are the names out there? Who's available at the back end of the bullpen?
That's the problem. You don't know.
Daniel, you seem to be the guy that would know that. Who's available at back ends of bullpens? That's the sexy names at deadlines.
There's not that many right now
yet. So,
but I will say. But I will say is that, like, even though we don't want to have Sir Anthony Dominguez there, he has been a really good setup man.
Listen, and I'll ride if you're my best arm. Guess what? Like that's how the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004. They didn't have a legit closer. Keith Falk became the guy that was closing games down the stretch. But that's just he was the guy. That every
year they've won it, that they had a guy that kind of like even the last time they won it a couple of years ago, they had that Asian kid that only closed for a year. I forget his last name, but
I know you're talking about. I remember. Yeah,
and he was able to do it down the stretch. So you don't really need, like, as long as your bullpen as a whole is really good, you don't really need that sexy name at the end, as long as you just get the outs.
You don't have to force the sexy name at the end. And why is Corey Knebel even a sexy name? Since when? Like, what the fuck is sexy about? When did that happen? I think we were hoping he was going to be a sexy name. We were hoping he was going to come in here and be like Billy Wagner in his prime, or like I don't know what was going on. Like instead, he turned into Jeff Brantley. Remember Jeff Brantley? Oh, geez. I remember Jeff Brantley blowing like a 5-run lead in a 1999 game against the Expos. I don't know why I remember. I was like 7, but I was so pissed. I hate Jeff Brantley to this day because he came in and blew like a 6-run lead against the Expos in like some meaningless game in June. Oh, but like I said, he's not a sexy name. So if Sir Anthony's pitching his ass off and you're my best arm, go ahead, ride the. Well, how do we know he's not a good closer? How do we know that? I know Corey Knebel's not. So let me throw out the big dog that's getting everybody out in my bullpen and see what happens. If he gets hit around a little bit, okay. Oh well, let's try something else. But there's no reason for me to think that he's not going to. He can get guys out in the 8th inning, but not the 9th. I mean, I don't know that. Right now, he's getting guys out. So
see, I never got that one where the setup man can't be the closer. Like, why not? Is he allergic
There's
to the
certain
9th inning?
I mean, it's a mentality thing. I think certain guys like Ryan Madsen wasn't enough of a killer for it. Like, I think that held him back. But Sir Anthony's always been a killer. You look at he's power arm, right? He's plus power. Like he's coming at you. He's coming for your throat when you're in that.
He's finally come back into where he needs to be after that surgery was Tommy John, because he missed basically 2 years of his career because
look
of that.
And look at all these guys. Verlander went and got Tommy John, and he looks like he's 25 again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, geez, like
It's also which doctor they go to.
you know what I mean? Like these guys don't get Tommy John nowadays, and it's almost like, you know, like ACLs in football where you're like, oh, that 30 years ago, that, you know, that could be the end of his career. And for the most part now, guys bounce back. But I think it's even more successful than that, because you see a guy like Carson Wentz, right, has his issues with the ACL and is never the same.
Yeah, but that's
when was the last time you saw a Tommy John surgery kit? Like somebody comes back and you're like, he had more arm issues, and then we had to do this. It's like every time you see a Tommy John story, the kid's coming back and like throwing harder than he did before, and, you know, striking people out, you know, at a better rate than he was before. Even in college baseball, you see that kid at Tennessee, Ben Joyce, that throws like 105 miles an hour, set the record this year for the fastest pitch in college baseball history. Had Tommy John surgeries.
I wanted to mention Tennessee. That's the one thing I forgot.
And they said he was like 5'6" in high school. You know, he kind of grew through JUCO, and he got to Tennessee right before his first year at Tennessee. Blows his arm out, goes against Tommy John, misses all of last year. Now he's a redshirt junior in his first year of college baseball, throwing 105 miles an hour. Could never do that before in his life.
Yeah, and I think Tennessee was the #1 team too.
Yeah, it's like the movie Major League where he fucking breaks his arm, and then the doctor, rookie of the year, right? Yeah, not Major League. My bad. I was thinking of but no, I wasn't even trying to think of Major League. I was thinking of the other one with the Twins, Little Big League. Yeah, Rookie of the Year where he breaks his fucking arm, and
Henry Rowan Gardner.
Yeah, Henry Rowan Gardner. He went on the star in American Pie, right? They tightened his arm all up. The doctor tightened the arm all up, and all of a sudden he's pitching at Wrigley Field. He'd throw 100 miles an hour. That's what this Tommy John surgery's become. I'm about to go get it and see if an independent league team down here will pick me up. I got the look already. I know, but I got that killer instinct out there. I just need the new arm.
Dude, this thing's gnarly.
Somebody just get me a new arm.
This thing's
gnarly. Listen, that's right now is what, you know, I guess it's not holding the team back right now because you've won 9 straight. But if you're going to have an Achilles heel, if something's going to bite us in the ass at some point this year when we don't want it to, if you don't go address it's going to be the back of your bullpen.
It's safe to say we know that this offense can go into slumps and
sure.
getting hurt.
The offense, you just had to say you hope you figure it out. They're too good. The lineup, you look at all the names, you're like, this ain't going to get any better than what it is right now. There's a lot of really, really good players in this lineup. They just need to start hitting.
Like I said in the
bullpen.
Like I said earlier, Bryson started out ice cold. They set him down. He comes back up.
And
now he's red hot.
That move. I mean, we couldn't stand the fact they sent him down. And I think you heard Bryce Harper take a little bit. I don't know if he was taking a shot at Girardi, but at the same time, I don't think anything with Bryce is unintentional. Like, he knows when to be tongue in cheek and when to kind of like make a point. Hey, wink, wink. You know, everybody understand the point I'm trying to make without really saying it. And you know, and he mentioned the fact that, you know, hey, we finally got these young kids in the lineup every day. You know, they're getting to play every day. They're getting consistent playing time and consistent at bats. And you saw Bryson Stott have 4 hits in a month, and then all of a sudden he has 4 hits in a single game. You know, and now he's turned into Babe Ruth out there, and he's hitting walk-off homers, and he's got like, you know, 4 home runs in the past week.
You get production from Matt Verlin too.
Yeah, what was crazy, up with that today? Me and Steven were talking. How did he start at second base? What the hell happened there?
He played at second base today.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like. Why? How did that happen? How did that come about?
I don't even know. I know he had experience, but I didn't expect it.
We've been on baseball for like what was it, an hour and 12 minutes?
Well, baseball's in right now, Steven. What do you want to talk about?
Well,
what would you like to talk about, Steven?
We got to switch gears real fast, obviously.
What are we switching gears to?
Basketball. What do you mean?
Why are we talking about basketball? We're talking about the NBA Finals?
Yes, we're going
to. Are we talking about if Tom's going to walk to San Francisco if the Celtics win?
Oh, man.
Since he made a Facebook post about it.
So
he pulled a Jim Rooker. He pulled a Jim Rooker, Daniel.
You shush it over there. As we get into this.
Well, you see what happens when he's not glitching? This is what happens. So you asked for it. You asked for it.
I was asked to carry this show, and damn it, I will carry it.
So obviously, we're gonna switch gears from Phillies baseball and everything that we were just going over. We're gonna go a little basketball, you know, in the back half of the second hour. And this segment is brought to you by Manscaped, and make sure you're heading over using that 20% code for free shipping, A2D with the
you got to flash it.
That's 20% off free shipping with the code A2D. That's at manscaped.com. MLBHallOfFame.com. Make sure you throw it out there. Remember, I'm also doing the giveaway too. Tom's doing some things. Screenshot that order. I got a dual sign mini helmet over here. I know Tom's doing some stuff on. Well, I think he was doing it on the Facebook group that he started too. So, make sure you're using that code. But obviously, NBA Finals a little bit more interesting than we thought it would be at this time. I know you thought it was going to be done in 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors were like, oh damn, like the Celtics smacked them a little bit in the mouth there, and game like, oh shit, like they didn't expect that to happen a little bit, and then your backs are against the wall. And you kind of had to dig yourself out of a corner a little bit, fight your way out of a corner a little bit, but it could still end in 6. I mean, really, when you think, I mean, it really could. I think the league wants it to go 7. Jason Tatum's a legit superstar.
We already knew that.
But now it's on the national stage, right? And Boston's one of their franchises that they love to market, that they love to make them money, and you've got a chance with one of your young superstars on the national stage in one of your prime markets to really show out. And on top of it, he's playing against a team that already has a couple of those guys that are the legit superstars that have been making you that money over the past decade. We know if Steph, it's not like Steph's going to lose. And oh man, Steph's this kills his legacy. He's no longer one of the top point guards ever. His legacy's already made.
Let me ask you something.
But hey, he wins another one and he wins number 4.
Now let me ask you something. Now, where does that? We watched a lot of basketball over the last 20, 30 years, right? You saw those Rocket teams. They were fun. The Spurs teams, they were fun. Let's take the Celtics teams out of it. Let's take Jordan and all them guys out of it. Hell, let's even take the Lakers.
The Unreal Dynamite. The Lakers.
Let's even take the Lakers out of it. If you take all that out, who was probably? Would you say the Warriors have probably been the most fun team to watch in the last 25 years?
I don't even know if it's the most fun. I mean, I think because you had some fun teams, but
you took so many teams out,
Well, I said that's what I said because you had some teams that were fun, but they never won anything. Like the Steve Nash Suns were fun with Amari Stoudemire. They were fun, but they didn't win nothing.
Should have won one, but didn't.
But they didn't win nothing, right? So the Chris Webber and the Mike Bibby.
Go back to the show.
Those teams were fun, and then you had Dbacks in the middle that could just dish it out.
But you got the Warriors that not only are they fun, and you watch it like Steph shooting the lights out from 40 feet and stuff like that, but on top of it, if they win this series, that's championship number 4. And it's kind of been sustained over like a 7-year period. I mean, you're talking about a run that takes with the all-time greats.
But I still takes them over Pop and the Spurs, right?
I mean, it's similar to the Pop and the Spurs run, right? The Spurs did something similar, over a similar amount of time. That's what I'm
saying. That kind of gets them over that.
Yeah, what I would say about that is the Spurs won, but they weren't necessarily fun to watch all the time, right? They just played really, really good basketball.
It's because the top player on that team was kind of boring. He didn't have a personality, and Tim Duncan, a lot of people would say, but he's probably arguably the best power forward of all time.
One of the most underrated players ever.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated players ever.
I remember watching him in Purdue, man. He was fun to watch.
I remember like people talking about, I'll use an argument with, when people talk about LeBron and how good LeBron is. I think Tim Duncan's a better career player. Tim Duncan is better than LeBron James. LeBron James is a physical freak, of course. Like Tim Duncan's not going to go yam on you from the foul line the way LeBron still will. But you watch them as basketball players. Tim Duncan knew how. Like Tim Duncan is. I mean, you talk about Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Do they become the superstars they become and the guys that they become without Tim Duncan as the guy that's the glue that's making all that happen? Not only are you one of the greatest power forwards ever, on top of this, James runs to teams with superstars already established so they could win. Tim Duncan's building players into championship level players, and he did not only early in his career with with Parker and Ginobili, but later in his career with Kawhi Leonard and guys like that.
And he won the first year without Parker and Ginobili. He won with
him and David Robinson were together.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
People tend to forget
that was a different story with him and David Robinson.
They forget how good they were the first 2 years before David really got hurt and he was done.
But
they were really fun.
And that was also before like Tim Duncan was Tim Duncan, right? He's this kid's a good young player.
He's going to go on and be like,
just raw. Yeah. And then that was the year that Robinson got hurt. Him and Avery Johnson got hurt, so they were very bad. the Sixers were supposed to get the top pick, and we would have got Duncan, but then the Spurs jumped us. Get Duncan.
Well, think about all the things, and think about the range, like all the things that happened within like a 5-year stretch. There, we could have had Paul Pierce. Instead, we took Larry Hughes over Paul Pierce or something. You
but at least with that was just at least that was just bad decision making. Here we were the worst team, and we should.
Yeah, really, the only decision they did make during that time was draft AI. I mean, how do you take Larry Hughes over Paul Pierce? Are you kidding me right now? Especially when you already got AI. Like, hit Paul Pierce and AI together, like that's a killer duo. They not just killer in the fact that they're good players. Like, they got the same mentality. They're coming for your throat every single game.
I mean, you think it's almost like sacrilegious at this point in time? The only thing you gave Allen Iverson was the Kembe Mutombo. That's sad.
Me and one of my I told you we had some family. We got some family stuff going on, so there was a lot of family together last night. We were all hanging out watching the finals game, and it was a conversation that came up about Allen Iverson and this idea that, like, you look at what Allen played with, and the fact that like even when he won his MVP year, his second best player. I mean, you've got the Kembe, right? Who's one of the best big men ever. Outside of that, Aaron McKee's your like. What, like that's your like that's your
he's
third
the
best
sixth
player?
man.
George Lynch stunk. George Lynch was like a pimple on my ass cheek. Okay, there might have been a pimple on my ass cheek.
All right,
I'm
gonna do something random here. We're gonna do something random here. I'm gonna do something like now. Take out Dr. J, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Embiid, and AI. Take them out. Who's your favorite Sixer? Top 3.
So who are the names I can't mention?
You can't mention like Wilt, Dr. J, AI, Charles Barkley. See, that's
where you get fun because like some of my I like when some dude stunk bad enough, like Samuel Dallenberg is always going to be like one of my favorite Sixers names. Like Samuel Dallenberg is just so bad sometimes it made you like, and then they try to sell it to you like he's look at this good young big man we got that's going to grow into like Shaquille O'Neal. Like, oh my God, you're patronizing me now? And my 10-year-old eyes as I'm watching Samuel Dallenberg stink up the joint at the Wells Fargo Center live.
How does no one not love the Kembe Mutombo?
Well, I mean, I love Mutombo, but I'm just saying, like,
I mean, granted, he wasn't the guy that he was.
For me, the guys because I love to be the.
He barely was on the team
right?
long.
Like I'm trolling the shit out of some of these dudes. Like, yeah, it's like a guy like that.
Did you not enjoy watching JJ Redick like drain threes here? Like, did I miss something?
There was some bad guys, especially like later in the AI years, like 04. Dude, you're like some of the they brought in Robert Tractor Trailer one year. You're like, what is Robert Tractor Trailer? He hasn't done shit since he was at Michigan in a Final Four. Like,
remember Matt Geiger?
Tractor Trailer.
I mean, Eric Snow, he was cool.
See, Eric Snow's like garbage. Like, how do you like this? How is that the one you give Allen Iverson, Eric Snow as your guard combination? I get to play with Eric Snow. No, fuck you.
But
here's
the thing. Here's the thing, though. The 1 year that they move over Iverson to shooting guard, he doesn't play point guard because he primarily played point guard a lot. They have Eric Snow as point guard. They make it to the NBA Finals.
I don't want you to tell me nothing about Eric Snow being Eric Snow was the other pimple on my other butt cheek.
But he could play defense and it allowed Iverson to just shoot where Iverson and then Snow could pass. I'm not saying he's good. I'm not picking him. I'm just saying it was just kind of funny the 1 year that they did that they made it to the finals.
It's because Allen's also the best player in basketball that year and wins an MVP award, right?
But he didn't have to. He didn't have to do everything
for being the sixth man. I give Larry Brown a ton of credit. Coach of the year was able to kind of rail, Iverson was a little bit, still young and out there and wild, and Larry was the guy that kind of reeled him in and got him into a position where he could go and be the guy that won the MVP and be the best player in basketball. Mutombo obviously being the defensive man. I mean, they had a good team, but it's just because you look at the pieces around it. But
if they didn't have, if they had one more other piece outside of what they had, they would have won. Probably
you say like they didn't have to go out of house to get it. Like you had your chance. You could have drafted Paul Pierce, and all this takes care of itself. And you take Larry Hughes because you just decide to shoot yourself in the dick over and over again.
You're never gonna let that one go, right?
No, I know because what's so hard about it is
what we're going through right now isn't bad enough.
Like Paul Pierce was a guy I like Paul Pierce is a player, like one of my favorite players ever. But you can't really like openly tell people that because you're a Sixers fan and he plays for the Celtics. Yeah. So now all of a sudden you're fuck you, like you like Paul Pierce. You're like, I do like Paul Pierce. If he was wearing a Sixers jersey, you'd love him too.
But here's the thing: would he be the same player because he's not getting all the shots now? Because of course Iverson shot 25 to 30 shots a game. So that's not leaving Pierce enough shots to be the Paul Pierce that we know now, because he shot a lot himself. So it's like, was Pierce going to be okay? Shoot,
I don't need anybody else to touch the basketball and take any shots. My offense is now perfect. Allen takes half the shots, and Paul Pierce takes half the shots.
And Dikembe cleans everything up.
And Dikembe cleans everything up, and then Aaron McKee.
Yeah, but at that time, we didn't have Dikembe.
Shots, too. Outside of that, nobody else touches the basketball.
And they
at the time, we didn't have
championships with that, at least.
It's beautiful.
They would have won 2 championships with that. Now, what do you do to correct this team? I mean, I know we're going to get
Doc
back.
Rivers. I mean, you see the Girardi thing, right? And this is what we're talking about. You clamor for, like, if you fire a guy and it just, the idea that, like, listen, this isn't working, and it kind of gets everybody's attention and makes them realize, okay, well, you just fired Doc Rivers. Geez, damn, this isn't okay. We can't just go to the playoffs every year and continue to lose. We did that with Brett Brown. He's gone. We did that with Doc Rivers. He's gone. Now who gets to take this job and be the next person to get fired because we're not good enough to go win an NBA championship? Not because they're not, because we're not. That's how the players look at it, right? Joe, you think Joel Embiid's ever going to blame the coach for them not being able to go win an NBA championship? It's going to be something about how he didn't play well enough. How was the team that didn't play well enough? Hell, he talked about they don't have enough killer instincts in the locker room. He didn't even talk about coach. He talked about we need more killer instincts in here. You got to get somebody in there with some attitude. Get a Draymond Green type guy in there.
Well, I mean, I think Mr. Jimmy Butler's made it very well and clear who he thinks the softest guy on the team is, and it wasn't even Ben. That's the sad part.
I mean, well.
And actually, I got to ask you guys: Did either one of you guys watch Hustle yet?
I have not.
What?
Seen it. No, I mean, I'm not like.
Have you?
What?
You watched Hustle yet?
No.
Tobias Harris is in Hustle.
Yes,
I saw that.
Tobias,
so like
Thibault, Maxi's in it. Who else was in it? Trey Young
Tobias,
was in it.
good for Tobias. At least now he could have that. Damn, my basketball career sucks. I'm like one of the most overpaid players in the game. It's okay. Hollywood came across. Hey, Adam Sandler made a career out of shitty movies that sucked and made a ton of money doing it.
Yeah,
so
he was the most.
Right?
Yeah, he was one of the most consistent guys on the team this playoffs.
Daniel,
I'm just speaking the truth.
One of the most consistent guys.
Listen. I love Tobias Harris at the time they made the trade and everything because him and Bobby was all fun and games. That thing wore off 2 years ago. Okay, he has been probably the most overrated, inconsistent guy that we've had on this team.
He's just frustrating at times. Like, yeah, he can play well, and you're like, yeah, he brings stuff to this team that helps you win when he's on. But it's just so frustrating.
But the
to
thing
watch
is,
him
it's so on and off when that happens.
He doesn't have any killer instinct. He doesn't want to be a guy that goes and takes over a game. And like, when he's tentative, he's not good. Like when he's tentative, he just stinks. He's just not a good basketball player when he's tentative. When he wants to be aggressive and he wants to attack and has an attacking mindset, that's when he becomes a good player. But it's not. It's on and off. It's like he's like a light switch. It's on sometimes.
But this is where I think the fans in the city don't get how the mindset is. I feel like with this team, because it's like, okay, we have Tobias Harris. He is essentially the third or fourth guy on the team. We criticize him, but then we don't really criticize Embiid or Harden.
Embiid is the one who takes the self-criticism. He puts it out there before.
And that would also be like criticizing AI doing his MVP year. Like great. The one guy that's really doing the most to help this team win, let's somehow put all the pressure, put all the blame on him. That's like when they used to do that shit with Mike Schmidt when he was playing in Philly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the greatest third baseman ever, but let's point the finger at me when we don't get over the hump because I'm an easy target.
But we have a guy who's getting paid more than Tobias, and it should be performing better in the playoffs. And James Harden.
And here's the thing, like listen,
he had one good game in that series.
Happened. We thought, we knew it's a short-term rental to a long-term problem. Yes, I still think that you package him and Tobias up somewhere and you do something to make something happen.
What concerns me with James Harden is like there's some guys that are career losers. Carmelo Anthony. Great player, career loser. You just like you don't win. I don't know what it is about you. I don't know if it's your fault. I don't want to say it is your fault. It's just the bottom line is no matter where you go, you don't win. You're a career loser. Russell Westbrook, career loser. You look at a guy like James Harden, Chris Paul. Chris Paul's a career loser. Great player. Love Chris Paul. Love Chris Paul the person. Love Chris Paul everything he does off the court. Career loser.
I'm going to throw something crazy at it. Don't get angry with me.
I'm scared that Harden's in that same conversation. Great player.
But I feel like
we'll throw this hypothetical out here real fast. I already said that you're going to have to put basically Tobias, and you're going to have to put James Harden together. Maybe throw a pick. I heard rumors that LeBron wants to come to Philly. So if that possibility, if in this alternate dimension here, if that would happen, would you pull the trigger? Would you pull the trigger? So are you?
LeBron's somebody that needs to feel like he's loved at all times, and I don't think the majority of this fan base would embrace him. I think people would enjoy trolling him. I think people would enjoy yelling at him from the front row, talking shit about his family. I think there'd be a lot of things about like Philly that he would be like, it's, his passive aggressiveness and his like insecurities come out. He's just a very insecure person sometimes. And, I think that's why he's always surrounded himself with not only like, people, but like you look at a lot of his teammates. I mean, go to Miami where not only are they great players, but me and Dwayne Wade are buddies. We're best friends. Love that guy. He loves me. And I've got like a support system around me that like, it's people that I get along with, people that I love, people that are going to show me the same love. He's got to feel loved. He wouldn't feel loved in Philly. I know it's the city of brotherly love, but not for LeBron.
I think he'd fit with it because he's getting that same thing in LA right now. He gets criticized over there. People just don't.
He can walk around LA with and like he's a pimp, like he's the GOAT. Like walk around LA, you're still LeBron James, right? You walk around LA, it's like.
Well, what was the reason he went? What was the reason he went to LA? It was so he could play second fiddle with somebody. They had Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis, the 1 year that he stays healthy,
I think his son
at that position.
His son's playing basketball out there, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that doesn't have a big role in this?
Yeah, but he was able to. He knows at the age that he's at now, he can't be, or he shouldn't be the number one guy on the team. He should be able to be the number two, where he can do less. If he sits, it's okay for like a few games, maintenance wise. But
you got to up the hockey that we haven't really been able to really kind of really.
Lightning were minus 210 favorites on the money line tonight. I actually thought I like the Rangers to win Game 6. That set it to 7, but when I saw the Lightning at minus 210, I said it's over. It's over. Like the Rangers, like, they broke Igor Shekerskin's spirit in Game 4. He realized he wasn't just some Russian robot that could stop anything they shot at him.
Well, what's that? Well, it's 1-0 right now with the goal by Stamkos. But how are you going to be? How are you going to be in Game 5? It's 2-2. Both teams win at home. And how are you going to be Ryan Strome and miss a perfect pass in front of the net? No goalie in front of you. He gets that great pass and he misses it. He shanks it. Doesn't even get the hit puck, and he had a wide open net. That would have won the Rangers last game in Game 5. So you go from that to now being down 3-2 because of that, because the Lightning scored with 2 minutes left the other day, and now it's 1-0 Lightning. So you have a thing.
I think we touched on the basketball. We touched on the NBA finals. I want to quick get in some football real quick. So let's switch gears one last time tonight. And this last segment tonight is brought to you by Gleason Bar and Grill. They are located at 6700 Mill Creek Avenue here in Levittown, PA. Use that promo code A2D for 10% off your order. Whenever you dine in, order out, order online, GleasonBarandSteaks.com. And let's talk some football. I'm going to kick it off with this. Is A.J. Brown officially like one of the most loved guys coming in as he's already going after Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys already?
Yeah, I think part of that is like you're talking about a fan base that's kind of like been really deprived of like that type of wide receiver for ever, really. I mean, we had T.O. for a couple years. We were teased. We were teased with T.O.
Man.
Yeah.
That was more than teased.
Well, I mean, like you saw, wow, this is really good, and then it like wasn't. It was over.
That was like you had the unsure girlfriend, getting ready to put out on prom night. She lets you put it somewhat in, and then cuts it off.
Donovan was the insecure girlfriend.
No, I'm just talking about in general.
But no, I mean, like you watched him dominate his first year there. Then he plays 9 games the next year, is in his driveway working out, and is cut from the team.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing with the playoffs I think the whole thing with the playoffs kind of killed it because the reason they brought him in was to win in the playoffs, and they wound up going into the Super Bowl. They broke the hump without him, and I don't know what happened. Then
But they're not even. They're not even in the Super Bowl game. Like they're getting blown out by the Patriots if he's not there balling out on a half broken leg.
Oh no! I'm not disputing that. But the reason they brought him in was to get over that championship hump, and they got over it without him because he was hurt. And then they instead of dealing with us,
been at home where they would listen.
Well, they would have been at home no matter what.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as the Carson Wentz situation.
Not just that, because I think with T.O. it's different. Again, certain guys bring a certain energy and a certain swagger that changes things for you. What were the Eagles missing in those other years? Some T.O. swagger. That's what they were missing. You needed a little T.O. swagger. Kind of gives you a little confidence. Start smelling yourself. Hey, wipe that dirt off your shoulder, pimp. You got this. Get out there and go kick ass. And
but here's the thing is that
what I wanted to say was
we're kicking back into this rivalry. Yes, we got 6 in Smith. We got 11 in Brown. You got a real tandem there at wide receiver. You got some weapons on the outside to go with arguably one of the best running games in the NFL right now. So
I felt like instead of dealing with his personality, which they bring him in, they're like, okay, we know he has a personality. We want to get over that hump. We're going to deal with it. Once they got to the Super Bowl kind of without him, and then he did everything afterwards, I felt like they were just like, okay, we're not going to deal with the attitude there. Well, I felt like they should have still dealt with it, but then I think with the whole contract issues and whatnot, it's like he was like, we already traded for you. You signed a contract with us, and now you want a contract a year afterwards.
When I ball out in the Super Bowl on a broken freaking leg, I'm going to act like Kurt Angle when I won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking leg.
But
I balled out in the Super Bowl with a broken freaking leg. Pay me my money. I deserve that contract extension.
But he didn't deserve the money, in my opinion, because we got there without him.
All right, so pay him his money, and he's an Eagles legend forever, and maybe you have a chance to go win another Super Bowl. 08, he's still a good enough receiver to really help you win a Super Bowl and make a run and beat the Cardinals. Instead, he's in a Cowboys uniform, and he's fucking touching touchdowns against you every time he comes to Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, and then how many rings does he have? 0.
That's great because great. Like that has nothing to do with him.
He's playing in the fan league now in Atlanta with the
only Super Bowl he played in. He puts in one of the all-time great Super Bowl performances and does it with a half-broken leg. And you're over here talking about talking about he never won a ring, as if he had anything to do with a ring. We lose that. We don't score a single point in that game. But
you're giving him so much praise, but then what has he done since then? You would have thought he would have went out there.
He's a top 2 receiver of all time, Daniel.
With 0 rings.
That's
0 rings.
After Jerry Rice, right? Jerry Rice is the first one.
So you're about to catch him, bro.
It's like talking about Gretzky. You're not going to bring up Gretzky. So who's the greatest? You talk about Messi and all those guys. Everybody's already acknowledging the fact that
Gretzky won.
It's Gretzky that's good. So
he won.
When you're talking about after Rush, you're like, who's the top 2 guys? And it was always them 1-2, right? Moss, Owens, always him top 2. So like, how is this like an overrated or like because that's how you try to? I give him too much praise.
But I'm saying for the situation, like you're giving so much praise and everything, which I give him praise for the performance. But
when going there, like Megatron's better.
But it's all about his personality and how he complained all the time, and that's why he bounced from team to team.
In the Super Bowl performance, you just can't forget it.
No. Megatron doesn't put up the numbers. There's a lot that goes in it. I mean, you're talking about physical freaks. Megatron was a physical freak tue, sure. T.O. dominated by the fact that he was such a physical freak on the field. Randy Moss dominated because he was such an electric athlete. When he wanted to be on top, when he wanted to be unstoppable, he could be unstoppable. You weren't going to cover Randy Moss if he didn't want you to cover him. Showed that on Thanksgiving one year against the Cowboys. That was fun to watch. Speaking of fun things to watch, watching Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss light up the Cowboys on Thanksgiving was a lot of fun. I remember that as a little kid being like 6 years old watching it, and it's one of those things
it's crazy
greatness when you see it, even at a young age. Even at a young age, you knew greatness when you saw it.
And Moss only had 3 or 4 catches that game, but all of them were touchdowns.
We're not here for that. Right.
I mean, I can confirm. I went to private school in South Jersey, right in Burlington, just across the Burlington-Bristol Bridge. So, like, Steven, you probably know where it's at. Daniel, you probably do too. Yeah. And they've got a really solid basketball program that they've been building at this little college prep school there. And there was confirmation from admissions people there that LeBron had his people come to visit the school when he was checking out private schools to send Bronny to and making his decisions the last time that he was going to be a free agent.
Man, he had to go there. God.
So I mean, I that's why I brought up his son. I think a lot of things go into this. With LeBron, it's more than just where he wants to play.
You said he had to kick the hornet's nest, so here it is. Kick the hornet's nest.
What if Donovan McNabb did win a Super Bowl?
He would have been insufferable.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
He would have been insufferable on top of that.
He'd be in the Hall of Fame right now.
I love Five.
All you got to say to this is
he would have been absolutely insufferable. He would have been a bigger whiner crybaby. I love him. Love Donnie. He was so inefficient in so many different areas.
That Deshaun Jackson story really kind of speaks volumes to like everything. Like, how many more players have to come out and say Donovan had this, this type of I'm always a victim attitude sort of thing where
a victim of his own stuff.
Right, the victim of his own insecurities sort of thing. I mean, he's had more teammates than I can count now. And I mean, Dbacks is the guy that like he's just you're watching me like, oh my God, like sometimes this guy he drives you crazy, he annoys you, but I think he's always been a guy that like he ain't afraid that he'll tell you how the fuck it is. He's never really been a guy be like, oh, that's a lie. If Dbacks says I believe he's he's enough of a pimp, or if I'm saying something, it's 100% fact, I'll take his word for it.
Well, I think it's the fact that how everything ended this time with Philadelphia, he just got to a point where like he knows that it's the point of no return, so he's just gonna burn it all down. Probably what it was is somebody asked the question, and he was like, "I'm not going to hide this anymore."
This isn't that hard, right? Exactly.
It wasn't like he was seeking it out, but I just think
this isn't that hard. Like the Donovan thing, he's the greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise, and that's the way that should always be. I mean, people can have Mike Schmidt had insecurity issues too, right? I mean, like. But
Mike Schmidt showed out all the time.
And Mike Schmidt eventually also owned up to the fact that, I have a lot of insecurity issues. And you know what? That was an issue when I played, was that I had a lot of insecurity issues. He even mentioned it in his Hall of Fame speech. I think Donovan.
I think what happened with Mike, like as much as he hated that time, both what he went through with the media and the stuff he went through, is that after he retired, he not only became more accepted, that he also fell in love with the city even more than what he was before.
Yeah, well, the Donovan insecurity, I think Donovan always had to feel like he was the star and the
guy.
And
here's the thing, I think Donovan would have gotten there if he would have ever owned up to any of it.
If he would have been brave, like,
I think it was tainted from the beginning because he comes in, gets drafted, everybody boos the fact that he gets drafted, and then he plays well.
Well, that's your fault. You can't be a quarterback with that type of insecurity issue because they booed me. Now all of a sudden I'm going to be.
But I'm not talking about insecurity. I'm just talking about he comes in right away.
The wrong quarterback, and he was the right one.
They wanted Ricky Williams. I wanted Ricky Williams too. That would have been a cool story.
And he plays well, but
retired from the Eagles to go smoke weed in Africa full time.
Yeah. Oh man, they would have murdered him.
I actually kind of want to see how that played out. I kind of want to go back if we could change things. I want to see us draft Ricky Williams just so I can see what happens.
But he plays so well, and he's the player that he is. But everybody always.
So the Giants fans wants to see us go in there and go punch Patrick Mahomes in the face and steal one from Andy Reid. Would you like to see that, Eagles fans?
I mean,
what about you?
I mean, Eagles fans are never going to, no, I don't want to see us win a Super Bowl. Of course you want to go see him win a Super Bowl.
But I can't go in there and do it against Andy.
Like, I literally...
I would want to see these fans
You want a prediction? I will, like, barbecue my own shoe and eat it if Jalen Hurts wins us a Super Bowl.
Over Andy Reid in the
period. If Jalen Hurts wins us a Super Bowl, this exact scenario.
I mean, obviously, we spent the last year giving it to Jalen.
Yeah, like Jalen's not like.
And I want to know now. I will happily eat crow for giving Jalen a hard time.
I'll eat a shoe and you'll eat crow. That sounds good.
Over the last few years,
Daniel,
if he goes out there and does what
I don't care who we play. I just want to win. It could be anybody.
We're talking about practice. We're not talking about actual games. Until we get into the actual game.
We talk about practice over here. We talk about practice.
We had to do it, right? Got the AI quote.
Talking about practice.
Got the AI quote.
I think this is part of what you see them. AJ Brown's here that they know. Listen, now we can fully assess what this kid is because there's absolutely no excuses at this point.
Not just that,
with
because
the talent
also
that's around him.
Do you look at what the fight for slots going to be like? That's crazy.
Yeah, JJ Arcega-Whiteside has a chance to see the field as a tight end and actually make some sort of an impact. At least he can block. Right? I mean, at least now you're effective. The best thing you do is a block. Well, okay, if you can block, you can play tight end at least.
Yeah, third tight end. They had to get him on the field in our running game. Man.
Well, we know we've got Dallas Goedert, and then from there you kind of like your second tight end is kind of.
If you really think about it, the only real question mark you have left on offense is who? What? That's one.
The quarterback.
Miles Sanders. No, it's Miles Sanders. What you have in Jalen Hurts right now. What Jalen Hurts? You've seen it. It can win you 8-9 games.
Jalen Hurts didn't win me anything last year. The team won 8 or 9 games. I never once watched Jalen Hurts put the team on his back and go win me diddly jack poo.
He beat the Saints himself. He beat the Saints himself with 3 touchdowns.
I watched him. I watched him make enough. I watched him have opportunities to make plays and win us games, like in the Buccaneers playoff game. And I watched a guy that just looks like, he's going to do everything he can. He's going to leave his heart out there on the field to try to win you a football game. But all that mocks and all that, it just the game doesn't necessarily match up to it in the way that it needs to.
But why is it okay to say that about Jalen Hurts, criticize him, even though he did win 9 games to make you the playoffs? But the rookie, and then to keep that going,
that defense is going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah. But then to keep that going, and then
go ahead, Daniel.
I said, but to keep that going into his second year. And then see what improvements he can make. Whereas a rookie, if we had brought a rookie in, he makes mistakes the first year, then the second year he improves, but we don't criticize him to the point where we do Jalen Hurts.
Who aren't we criticizing?
I'm saying, why is it that Jalen Hurts last year, it was his first 4 years as starter, essentially he was a rookie. Essentially, come in.
I hate that argument. You know that, right? You learn things.
You hate the argument,
but if you're not on the field. You sit in the film room and you watch all the film as the defense gets broken down, and you understand all your coverage is a lot better. So by the time he sees the field in year 2, he should still be way better than what a rookie is, because he's going to understand NFL coverages. He's going to understand what he's seeing on the field. He's going to be able to break it down better at the line of scrimmage. I think the reason why you get people look at it and say, well, why does he get the hate that he does? Because I think enough people that consider themselves smart football people use their eyes and watch him and
I'll say this much:
the skill set just isn't there. The arm strength, the arm talent is not there.
As he was just sitting there saying, if you gave Jalen Hurts Donnie's arm, it's over.
Yes, there you go. That's a good threat.
It's over.
If you put Jalen, or you could put it the other way and say, if you gave Donovan McNabb Jalen Hurts' leadership and attitude and mindset and approach to the game, Donovan would be in the Hall of Fame right now. Might have won us multiple Super Bowls. But yeah, you could give Jalen Donovan's arm, and Donovan had a rocket. We might have had some accuracy issues at times, but he had the ability to make any throw that you needed to make at the NFL level. Jalen Hurts has not proven he could do that. We didn't beat a team with a winning record last year. You guys realize that, right? Like you look back at all of our wins, and then at the end of the year, you look back at the teams that we beat, and none of them had a winning record. We didn't beat a team that finished with a winning record. So are you really that good of a team, or did you just circumstance really helps you
and
get into a position where you win 9 games?
Team, right? Saints were the only close.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, there was. Yeah, you didn't beat anybody with a winning record. So I mean, for me, those are things that until I see differently. I think it's fair to criticize.
Gotta love what the fire AJ's bringing.
Sure. And it's never been. He's hyping up Jalen too, which is good, right? Like if there's anything that Jalen's already got all this confidence, right, and he wants to play the game with a winning mentality, and then you've got your star receiver who's over here hyping you up, trying to make you think, yeah, you know what, you are that pimp. Forget what these people saying about you don't have the arm talent, whatever. Forget that. Fuck that. You're better than Ryan Tannehill, and he probably is better than Ryan Tannehill. But the problem with that is Ryan Tannehill isn't very good. So, if my argument is, I played with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, and now this guy, I think he's way better than Ryan Tannehill was.
But Ryan Tannehill's like the 17th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, so that makes you like the 13th best quarterback in the league. Which
I still think he's top 10.
Who? Jalen?
Just barely.
Jalen's a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Unfortunately.
Good.
I think he's.
How are you evaluating just because he runs around for a bunch of yards and can use his legs to score? That doesn't make you that doesn't make him a good quarterback. Like he cannot win me games with his arm.
Winning games is the criteria.
But I think it won me anything. We didn't beat anybody with the winning record.
They were still a playoff team that last year.
And then anytime he played a good team, anytime he played a good defense, he looked like an average quarterback at best. So you can't just go run around and say, okay, well, my arm isn't very good, so I'm just going to run around and get a bunch of yards with my legs, and that makes me a good quarterback. Tim Tebow did that, and he completed he completed 47% of his passes. So just because you're over here running around with your legs, scoring touchdowns, ripping your shirt off because you're football Jesus, getting women fucking rubbing themselves like this is a fucking what was the movie with the dude that like to fucking whip the girls and shit, and it came from the book, and they were all going to see it a couple years ago. I wish Brandy was awake. She'd fucking know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about 50 Shades.
50 Shades of Grey. There you go. See, Steven saw it. But yeah, I mean, great. Like at some point, like I need you to beat teams with your arm. I need you to win me football games with your arm. He hasn't done that yet. I don't think like it's fair. Like we saw Chris Sims rank him like, I don't know, fucking 32nd or 34th or 35th or something.
Like I want to see. I think I want to see him this year and see how he does now with the rep-ins that he has. I think this year will be a more better criticism or praise of him with how he can do with what he has now.
I never said he didn't get this year though. I just said
no. I'm just saying. I think he did a good job for what he had last year, and now this year is the true test. Now you got enough. You were able to bring in guys because of what you did last year, the potential what you can do. Now you got to make the next progression in as a quarterback. You need to throw. You need to get these guys weapons that you have open, throw it to them. You got Smith, you got Brown, you got Goddard, you got the running game. You've made improvements on the defense. You got to put it all together now, and it's going to be predicated on how Jalen Hurts does. And there can't be
Bailey throwing ball as much as I thought AJ should have caught it. But anyways. And yeah, I'll say this much. As much as we say Donovan's the best, I think Nick Foles is going to be the one that's remembered.
Because that's how we are here. Like, what we do.
What did we talk about earlier with Donovan not winning? Look at Nick Foles winning.
We're absolute whores for the backup quarterback. It is no surprise. It is no shame. It is something that is almost a right here.
You think Donovan had insecurity issues before? Then they built a statue of Nick Foles outside the stadium. He probably lost his damn mind.
Oh my God, he would have lost it. Demanded a trade right then and there.
Why do you think Carson Wentz turned into what he did now? Because
I think that's a fair comparison. And what I don't understand is why we were all able to. Like now we don't like none of us feel like it's unfair to sit here and call out Carson Wentz for being mentally soft, having whatever issues it is mentally from an insecurity perspective, whatever. But we can't do that to Donovan. Why not? They both have kind of shown that they're mentally weak, and that's what held them back. The unspoken
thing says exactly why not.
I mean, I've never had any problem calling Donovan out for it, but
wow. Tommy's alive.
What's going on, Tom?
I think it's fair to talk about, but it doesn't take away from the fact that people try to use it to take away from the fact of what Donovan was as a player here. Could have won the NFL MVP award, maybe should have won the NFL MVP award in 2000. Marshall Faulk had a great year, but Donovan was over 80% of our offense that year.
Yeah.
Like Charles Johnson is his best receiver or something.
Yeah, Johnston and
that was
Small.
The worst person to ever wear that number 81 that year. Holy hell.
Yeah, wow. It's bad when Charles Johnson and Torrance Small are your wide receivers.
Yeah, Torrance Small. I knew there was another. I knew there was another scrub.
Yeah, and then you still came within a game of the Super Bowl.
No, 2000. I'm talking about the year before where they lost to the Giants in the divisional round.
Oh, okay.
When the first full year under Andy, when they went to the playoffs, lost to the Giants in the divisional round. Donovan was over 80% of our offense that year, and was behind Marshall Faulk, the best offensive player in all of football.
The year that he was a runner-up was that second, I think his first year as a starter.
First full year as the starter, 2000.
And they lost
99.
They lost to the Rams. No, they lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship.
That was in 01. That was the following year. In 01,
no, it was 99. It was 99 with Kurt Warner because 01 was when
99 he was drafted. He only started 6 games in 99. Then in 2000 he started the whole year, and they lost to the Giants in the division round. I watched the game at my aunt's house, and I can still play back Ron Dixon running back the kick for the touchdown against the Eagles in that game. Like as I'm like sitting there with my dad my aunt's house.
He was runner up to Kurt Warner the next year. That's what it was.
No, Marshall Faulk. Kurt Warner won it in 99. Marshall Faulk won the MVP award in 2000. Donovan finished second to Marshall Faulk in 2000. Then Kurt Warner won the MVP award in 01. I don't know who finished second in 01, but Donovan
it was Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb was runner up 2 straight years.
No, he was not.
I'm telling you, he was.
No, he was not.
I'm telling you, he was.
No, he was not.
Because
he was not.
Because
Well,
Dude, we could prove it right now. Good. I mean, the reason I wouldn't speak on this, Daniel, like if I haven't fucking been obsessed with it since I was a fucking 10-year-old kid, I could sit here and run this down. Like I'm absolutely positive of where he finished in the MVP voting. I know I like this has been like part of my Donovan research for years to be able to have the firepower that I have to talk the way I do about him because I support him and defend him when I think it's appropriate, and I've also ripped him when I have thought it's appropriate. So I mean, I've been a guy that's been very fair on both sides of the argument with Donovan McNabb. I think his entire career in Philadelphia. I was not one of these guys that picked a side and just rolled with it because
traded
I wanted to do that.
Indianapolis, then got traded to Washington. Just saying.
We're going to settle this Donovan McNabb thing.
99, he only started half.
As they get ready to do that, I'm going to get ready to
Maybe we should save this for after we get off the air.
Yeah,
that's what we should save this for.
I'm going to get ready to put a bow on this one. Obviously, you know, we had a lot of fun tonight. Talk some Phillies that, you know, red hot, 9 in a row, going to get ready to lock up another sweep tomorrow. Rafael Pomero was an absolute great interview. And you know,
it was great having him on.
That was like, you know, 40, 50 minutes of fun there. You know, obviously we'll get him back on here in the future. Hopefully we get some more of the Immortal guys on. Looking forward to having Clark Mitchell on here to give us a little bit more of an explanation on what Immortal and the company is, and you know what exactly they're doing with that. NBA Finals Game 5, getting ready to get it all situated in the what was that tomorrow, right? Tomorrow night.
Yes.
Game 6 would be tomorrow. Yeah. Game 5. Excuse me. Yeah, right. It's right. Game 5 would be tomorrow.
That's what I thought.
What's going on in the Lightning game?
One in a second.
Hold on. Here's what's in it. 2001 NFL MVP voting. Wait for this list though. This list is actually, you're like, holy shit. Kurt Warner won it in 01. Marshall Faulk actually finished second. Brett Favre finished third. Guess who finished fourth in the MVP voting in 2001? Cordell Stewart.
Oh yeah, because he was going crazy.
Cordell Stewart finished fourth in the MVP voting that year. Brian Urlacher actually finished fifth. But yeah, I mean, good Lord, Cordell Stewart got more MVP votes than Donovan did in 01. I knew Donovan didn't finish second, but I thought he would have got some MVP votes that year. Yeah. But man, that list is kind of crazy.
But this was a fun one, you know. Baseball, football. To wrap this one up, you know, wrapped it with some basketball in the middle. Let's make sure you're back for next week's episode. We're gonna have
I won't be in Steven's house next week. I promise. Like, unfortunately, this is actually, if only we could do this every week, sitting next to each other.
We'd be good.
Each other when we want the one to shut the fuck up and, you know, like, move on to different things and let somebody else talk. It actually works perfectly. We're gonna try to start elbowing each other through the computer screen and fucking bust the screen or something. You know, forget that we're not in the same room.
But how are you gonna do that when you glitch up? It's gonna be like,
well, pretty much.
You're not doing a chicken wing. Oh man! All right. Well, appreciate everyone for hopping in tonight. Appreciate everyone hopping in the chat. Blue City's always in there from time to time. Bryce, Prism's always there. Appreciate everyone chiming in tonight. Another fun one in the books. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Not for Zach. He won't be in the same place. He'll be in the same place. I'm Steve. That's Zach. That's Daniel. This was another episode.